Speaker that we have is probably the single greatest patriot representative we have in our state right now. He is always on the front line, speaking out on our behalf at no matter what the cost. He gives the definition to liberty at all hazards. It is my great honor and privilege to introduce Representative Jim Walsh.
Well, hello! Welcome! The right of petition and of the people peaceably to assemble for the common good shall never be abridged. Are you here for the common good? Are you here to resist the unlawful and unconstitutional mandates that undermine our state and our nation? And will you resist it with a happy heart, with a good attitude, because you know you are right? You know, we need to remember the proper order of law, the proper order of public policy. And this goes for the state of Washington, and it goes for the United States. At the highest level is the Constitution. You know, I love our state of Washington Constitution. I like it better than the federal. It's stronger in so many ways. It articulates your freedom of conscience better than the federal. It describes your right to privacy more clearly than the federal. It describes your right to keep and bear arms more strongly than the federal. And the thing I've always loved about the Washington State Constitution is the Bill of Rights doesn't come at the end. It comes right at the beginning. Article 1. So at the highest level of law and public policy, the Constitutions, right beneath those is the actual body of law, the statute. Here in Washington, we call it the Revised Code of Washington. At the federal level, they call it the United States Code. This is the law. This is public policy passed by the legislative branch, signed off on by the executive branch, and reviewed by the judicial branch. All three branches of your government must be involved in making law. Never forget that. Now, underneath the Constitution, underneath the statute, the true law, we have administrative code. Here in Washington, we call it the WAC, the Washington Administrative Code. At the federal level, they call it the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulation. Same concept. These administrative rules are meant to help implement the law. But these administrative rules are not law. These administrative rules are just that, they're rules. No legislature ever votes on them. No governor ever signs them or president ever signs them into law. They are not law. And beneath the administrative code, at the lowest level of public policy, is the collection of other actions. Executive orders, emergency proclamations, emergency rules. They are the lowest form of public policy. They are not law. Now you will hear their defenders say, well, they're made in a lawful way. They follow a lawful process. That's the language of a bureaucrat. That's the language of a small-minded taker. They can follow a legal process and reach an illegal, unconstitutional, and immoral conclusion. And that's where we're stuck today, my brothers and sisters, my friends. We are stuck in a place where the lowest form of public policy is defining our state and our nation, and we cannot allow that to stand. It is wrong. When we allow that lowest form of public policy to lead, we end up in a situation where a nurse is told her livelihood and her career will be over if she doesn't comply with an executive order. And when we allow that lowest form of public policy to lead, we have the situation where a firefighter or a ferry worker or a police officer is told they must enforce these statements and issues and proclamations and edicts and mandates, and they know it is not the law. When we allow this lowest form of public policy to lead, we have a governor who gives an interview with a local television outfit claiming he is the only person who can save lives against COVID. The arrogance, the decadence of that. There cannot be public health policy without consent. We cannot allow our public servants who serve you to call you insubordinate, to say that you disobey. You cannot be insubordinate. You are the boss in our system. We have to remember, we have to reclaim the proper order of constitutional law and constitutional government. And people say to me, Jim, what do I do? What do I do? Well, you live your life. You make the decisions that are right for you.
Yes.
If that means taking a shot, take the shot. If it means not taking the shot, don't take the shot. But do not allow yourself to be coerced against your conscience. It doesn't matter what the press says. It doesn't matter what the mobs or the politicians say. It doesn't matter if the whole country says that something wrong is something right. Our institutions have failed you. Your legislature in this state has failed you by not being the check and balance on overreach that it is meant to be. The judges have failed you by not recalling these abuses of our emergency powers. But it doesn't matter what they say, because the power is with you. It doesn't matter if the whole world tells you you're wrong. This nation was founded on one principle more than all the others, and that is the requirement that we stand for what we believe. No matter the consequences, no matter the odds. And when the institutions tell you that you need to move to get out of their way so that they can fail more, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and answer them, no, you move. All political power is inherent in the people, and governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. And those governments exist to protect and maintain individual rights. Article 1, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution. Reclaim your rights. Help me. I need your help in this building behind me. I can't do it by myself. None of us can do it by ourselves. Our system is designed so that at times like this, when we have failed you, you lead us. You know what's right. You know what's true. Reclaim your individual rights. Lead us to the democratic and Republican values that built this building, that built that building, that makes this state and country great. You have the power. Take it. God bless you all. God bless Washington, and God bless America.
I don't know about you guys, I could listen to that like all day. Point of information before I call up our next speaker. Apparently, there's too many of you here. Apparently, there is a mystery blockage of I-5 South right now. No construction, nothing going on, just the lanes closed to prevent more people from getting here. Also, I've been informed that Facebook is not allowing anyone from this event to live stream, and if you're successful at it, you'll probably get cut off soon. They are scared of you. They are scared of freedom. With that, I would like to re-welcome the wonderful, beautiful, single, Miss Carrie French.
Hey, Carrie! Good, because you're going to like this. Okay, I'm going to start over. Good afternoon, my fellow freedom-loving patriots. I am Carrie French. I'm a native of Washington, and I have been an activist since I was 17 years old because I believe as an American and as a Christian, it is my duty to be involved in helping keep this republic. I served this country for 20 years in the United States Navy, serving with the Marines, on ships, and overseas. And I am thoroughly disgusted with what I am seeing our country devolve into. One only needs to look at history to see where these barbaric and totalitarian policies are leading to. There are quarantine camps being built in Eatonville and other places, I understand, and so-called strike forces being staffed up to force us into compliance. Oh, but don't worry, they've named it something nicer now, like puppies and kitties or something. The camps aren't being used for internment camps yet. Counties are talking about vaccine passports in order to go to restaurants and gyms and other public places. And make no mistake about it, they will become digital passports. Not everyone has the same genetic makeup, medical history, or beliefs, and they are making no exceptions for those who have natural immunity. They say they're not forcing us, but they will create a caste system that will divide us into a type of medical apartheid, forcing us into being second-class citizens if we don't comply. These emergency edicts, handed down by Governor Inslee, I was told not to say king, and his unelected agencies are not laws. The only people who can make laws are the people in that building called legislators that we vote for. And they're not going to stop there. Remember the 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Well, we're now in the 18th month of flattening this curve in this so-called emergency, and we are now being told in order to keep our jobs or our contracts with the state, we must take this experimental shot that has caused thousands of injuries and deaths. That's unconscionable. The Trusted News Initiative, if you haven't heard of it, look it up, Trusted News Initiative, has conspired to push the fear-mongering narrative and suppress any dissenting or questioning voices so that the general public is afraid of other people and of living. Do you remember when Inslee asked the people to snitch on businesses who are not complying and not following orders? Well, those of you who were happy to snitch on businesses would probably turn in Anne Frank, too. After all, they're just enforcing the rules. And Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that everything Hitler did was legal. Force is not freedom. And now they want to vaccinate our children with this experimental gene therapy. This disease has an over 99% survival rate for kids, and there is no reason to vaccinate them from COVID. Even Michael Yeadon, Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer for 16 years, agrees that children should not be injected with this. And I am sure by now many of you have seen the Project Veritas videos exposing the deception of what's going on in Big Pharma. And if you want to know why some of our politicians, including Governor Inslee, is not speaking out about this, go ahead and take a look at the Public Disclosure Commission and see who Pfizer is giving money to. I'm speaking today because my premature daughter, Cassie, was given all her vaccines on the same day without my knowledge or consent by the Naval Medical Center San Diego at Balboa. And this is what can happen when the government makes decisions for your children. She's not taking a nap, folks. She's dead. If you don't want to join my club, you parents need to advocate hard for your kids. Pull them out of public schools if they are going to do this. Within a month, my daughter, who was getting ready to come home, died. I don't know about you parents, but I did not sign up to co-parent with the government. Did you? Did you? Parents, you must advocate for your children. You must protect them. There's talk of vaccinating your kids in school without your permission. You send them off to school and they come home with the jab and you didn't even know about it. This is what can happen. This is an act of war on parental rights and is completely against the Nuremberg codes passed after World War II due to the gruesome experiments done on people by Nazi doctors. If you're wondering how we got to this crazy place, just look at your voting record. Elections have consequences. When Jim says he needs help, he needs help. We've got to get more people involved and more people elected that value our rights. When we elect people who do not value our individual rights, we get those who make these hideous policies. And if you don't vote at all, because you think your vote doesn't matter, well, congratulations, you're part of the problem. But you know what? I don't think you guys are part of the problem because you're here. I believe you care. Or you wouldn't be here. Make sure that your family and your friends are registered to vote and consider getting involved. Run for office. Go to school board meetings. Go to city and county council meetings. Make appointments with your reps. Get to know them and hold them accountable. And I'll tell you what, there are some candidates that are here that do value your individual rights out there, like Joe Kent. Go visit these candidates. Get to know them. Unfortunately, folks, I don't know if we can fix this situation, but we've got to try. Nevertheless, I highly recommend that everyone be prepared to weather this storm. Have enough food on hand in case they decide that you can't use your bank card or go to the grocery store because you haven't taken the jab. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you all that this was actually written about in the Bible, Revelation 13. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their hands or on their foreheads so that they could not buy or sell without the mark. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if this will lead to the mark, but make no mistake, we are standing on the precipice of history. I would recommend that you get right with your Maker if you're not, and get back to your faith, because believe me, we're going to need it in the coming future. Organize a mutual aid group in your communities. What we do from now on will determine if we continue to live in freedom or if we live in a dystopian hellhole. We must live our convictions. We must help each other survive this unconstitutional power grab. And we have seen this before. Totalitarians and authoritarians always fail. Let our elected officials know that we will not go gentle into that good night, and we will rage against the dying of the light of freedom. I will leave you with this paraphrased speech from my favorite founding father, Patrick Henry. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way to judge the future but by the past. And judging by the past, I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of Jay Inslee and the state government to justify those hopes with which people have been pleased to solace themselves. Is it that insidious smile with which our petitions have been received? Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss or a campaign promise. Let us not deceive ourselves. These are instruments of subjugation, the last argument to which kings resort. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other, especially those on the southern border. And I hear an amen on that one. Our petitions have been slighted. Our dissent has been spurned with contempt. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, we must fight. An appeal to the God of hosts is all that is left of us. If they tell us that we are weak, unable to cope with such a formidable adversary, but when shall we be stronger? Will it be next week? Will it be next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and a Department of Health strike force worker is stationed at every home? We are not weak if we make proper use of those means which God of nature has placed in our power. The millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty are invincible by any force with which our enemy can send against us. Besides, we're not fighting alone. Look around you. The battle is not to the strong alone, it's to the vigilant, the active, and the brave, which all of you are. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are being forged. Their clanking may be heard in Eatonville, Chehalis, and Lake Stevens. People may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. Do you have peace? They're firing us. The war has actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from Olympia will bring to our ears the clash of hypodermic needles. What is it that people wish? Is life so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery and forced vaccinations? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death!
That was awesome. All right. We're going to keep moving right along in our program here. Just a quick reminder, if you're just getting here late because there's the mysterious I-5 shutdown, there is a banner over to my right, your left, that says, Jay Inslee is firing me. If this applies to you, please go sign it so that we have a nice visual reminder of all the people that he is destroying in this process. I would like to welcome up next to the stage the very definition of an activist. If you want to learn how to fight back, this is the person to learn from, listen to, watch his videos, visit his website at wethegovern.com. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Glen Morgan.
All right, it's always good to be here. I just want to, a couple weeks ago, I was the MC at the event that we had up here at the Capitol, so Tyler, I'm going to step in real quick. For those of you who can't get into the square here, if you guys can just make some room so these people can keep coming in. It's getting so blocked up that you can see there's a lot of people out there who can't make it in. So once again, my name's Glen Morgan, and I am with We the Govern. If you want to see that website, well, I still have it. Please go to wethegovern.com. Amazingly, I actually have a YouTube channel still, so it's still there. So you can go and watch any of the videos that I'm sure nobody in this building wants you to see. I am a super spreader. But let me clarify. I'm a super spreader of freedom, liberty, and truth. And so are you. And so are we all. We have to be willing to spread the truth far and wide. And one thing that government wants us to believe is that you're alone. That is the highest priority that they have, is to make you feel alone with what you believe, with the freedom and liberties that you want to stand up for. And they hate it when we do events like this. For 6 months, we couldn't come here in the Capitol because they had fenced it off. Denied us access to this Capitol, denied us access to our legislators, turned the entire legislative session into a Zoom event, which meant they could mute anybody who had dissenting opinions. That's never been done before. And I really think that there is a terrible disease in our government right now. And it's the government staph infection. And it starts from Inslee and it goes right down. And if you want to know why they're firing all these people who are actually willing to think for themselves or stand up for their freedoms, it's because they don't like people like that working in government. And unfortunately, as somebody who tries to expose and write stories about the truth in government and what's actually going on, it's very difficult to distinguish in an ocean of incompetence, which is kind of synonymous with government today, to find those mountains of corruption that are concealed underneath that ocean of incompetence. But I'm going to ask you to help me, because many of you who do work for state government, you've been there a while. You know where the bodies are buried. You know where the money's gone. You know the people who got special treatment. You know those people who were sexually harassing people, but they never got in trouble? The ones they're covering up because they're politically connected? You know those people that got those special contracts? The grant grifting operations that are going on? Nobody knows it better than the people who work in government today. And they're threatening to fire you, a lot of you. So I'm going to ask you, bring those hard drives to work and those thumb drives, and let's start downloading the truth. I believe in consequential activism. And if you don't believe that exposing the truth is one of the greatest fears that these guys have, or those clowns over there in that building, then you don't know government. But I don't have to tell you if you work for them. So start exposing, start capturing the truth. Bring us the documentation, because we will be willing to expose it. And I'm going to point out to you that being a whistleblower is not easy, but when they fire you, it sure gets easier. And you can go ahead and try to give that to the Seattle Times or some other paper like that. There once was an idea in journalism in America today that they would comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. But that idea is long gone. The media has totally corrupted itself. Remember, it was the Seattle Times that sat on the mayor of Seattle and his sexual predation for almost 10 years. They knew that story completely, and they sat on it, and they buried it, and they hid it until they finally had to go public with it. How many other stories do you think have been killed by mainstream media because they're corrupt?
A lot.
A lot. But that's okay. Send them the story too, but send it to me. I know Ari Hoffman's going to be up here speaking pretty soon. Send it to him. In fact, send it to everybody. Let's just have a contest and who can publish it first. I think that that's what we have to realize. We have to push back. We have to find the things that they don't want us to see, that they don't want us to expose. And I'm sorry if you work for state government and you're going through this. I have a lot of friends. I live in South Thurston County. Many people in Thurston County work for state government. I have a lot of friends in this situation right now whose families are affected or they're affected with this threat. Now, one of the questions is Governor Inslee bluffing? I should really correct myself, because Inslee in his head probably doesn't know what that means, but I'm really referring to, are his handlers bluffing? Because I don't think they realize the significance of what's going on. The paper's saying it's a small percentage of people. They are wrong. All over the state. I have been to various state aid entities and government school districts where over a third of the teachers or employees or people who work there are not willing to comply with the mandates. Now, that may not be true in places where compliance is very high. The Evergreen State College, right? I mean, they comply to everything. But outside of government entities like that, there's a lot of non-compliance out there. More significantly, the people who aren't compliant are the ones who actually do real work. And firing them, I think, is a huge mistake for our government right now. I feel like they're bluffing, but I don't know. Maybe they really are that stupid. I never put anything past them. But I do want to say, and I'm going to close with this before I introduce the next speaker. Every video that I do, I always have a phrase that I use at the end, and I believe that it's absolutely true. The future belongs to those who show up. Today you've shown up. But it's more than a rally. We have to keep showing up, finding consequential, significant things that we can do to make an impact. And in the end, we will win. Now, I want to introduce the next speaker here because I used to work with him when I was at the Freedom Foundation. And if you want to know how serious somebody is as an activist, that's the guy that's willing to go, guy or gal, willing to go out with you in a truck and put up signs until the sun rises the next day. And somebody who's willing to do that time and time again. And I have to tell you, it's my honor to introduce the next speaker today, somebody who I've done that with. It's always one of those tests to see just how serious you are as an activist. And it's Matthew Hayward. If you can join with me in welcoming Matthew Hayward.
All right, you're here. You showed up. You know, I was asked, why are we having this rally? What do we hope to accomplish? I was asked, why are we having it on a Sunday? It's going to hurt our attendance. Why are we having it during a Seahawks game? It's going to hurt our attendance. You know, if people are distracted by the Coliseum, then it's already too late. When Tyler and I were talking about setting up this rally, we had pretty much one purpose in mind, and that was to let you know that you're not alone. I get hundreds of phone calls at my office at the Freedom Foundation where I'm still working. There's only so much we can do. We filed 4 lawsuits against the governor last year over the mandates and his emergency authority. One of them is waiting to be certified or accepted by the Supreme Court, but it's slow. The legal process is too slow for us. We've got 2 other cases that are in District 2 court. These have been going on for a year. These cases that we filed, they're not dead, they're still going, but they're not helping us right now. I'm glad that we're fighting and we're doing what we can at our organization, but I'm also an activist and I do what I can on the side as well. So when people are calling me, they're telling me they feel alone. I'm getting calls from all over the state from people. Not everyone's networked, not everyone's on social media, and a lot of people I talk to just feel alone and isolated. So we wanted to have this rally to let everyone know that they're not alone, and those who are not here hopefully will get some coverage or we can put it out. You know, every rally I've been to, that there's been helicopters and news media at. Yeah. So our message was very clear: you're not alone, and if every person stands their ground, they can't fire everyone. I'm going to go off my notes a little bit because I get too passionate and I don't want to get a visit by the FBI. Unlike Tyler, who did get a visit from the FBI. If you're not aware, our acting dictator has decreed masks are required for outdoor gatherings over 500 people. There are some media here, so you don't have to worry about it. We probably won't get over that number. But we're not here to talk about masks. We're here because our governor doesn't know what form of government we have. Now, Representative Walsh mentioned it earlier. Maybe some of you heard the governor's interview. I hadn't heard it. I don't listen to him much, but I was asked to watch it before today, so I did. The one where he suggested that he is the only man capable of saving lives in Washington. Apparently, dictator's not enough. He wants God status. But there was another comment he made that didn't get as much attention, and that was the claim that we live in a democracy. Now, there's a lot of people here. There's probably people who have never been to a rally here before. There are people who have never been involved in politics. So to honor a friend and longtime activist Sandy Belzer, who's no longer with us, I want to share 2 messages with you. One, Sandy loved new people. She loved the passion and inspiration and the fight for liberty that was in those fresh people just getting involved. So please check out the tables in the back. Check out the different groups and organizations and get networked. Stay involved and never give up. And 2, when I heard the governor's speech, my very first thought was Sandy's rolling in her grave. We do not live in a democracy. And anyone who ever met Sandy knows that. Upon exiting the Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin was approached by a group of citizens asking what of our government delegates have created. What form of government? His answer was, a republic, if you can keep it. This battle is bigger than stopping the vaccine mandate. It's about defending our republic form of government. Any reasonable, intelligent person, no matter their political view, no matter their position on masks, on vaccines, or even on the mandate, should be able to everyone should be able to come to an agreement on one point. Emergency powers exist to handle emergencies, to allow executives to act until such a time that our democratically elected representatives can convene and deliberate. It has been 19 months. Why is a single man still the only one with the authority tasked with governing the lives of 7.8 million people? Even people who support the mandates should easily agree that we should be adhering to our democratic process our state and country was founded on. Why aren't our elected representatives writing and introducing legislation, holding public hearings with public input, and having expert testimony and debate, amending and voting on those bills and passing them into law? We have had enough time for them to come and weigh in. We need and deserve accountability. I can't promise any of you that you won't be fired. You should do whatever you can to be prepared for that. But I want to share my hope with you. I do believe it is not too late to stop this dangerous maniac and his non-scientific based approach. As I said on day one when the governor came out with this announcement, I personally do not believe that there is any legislative solution coming, and I wouldn't hold your breath for a legal solution. What I've been saying since day one is it's all about the numbers, and if you have the numbers, you've already won. The governor's plan is and has been fear and division. He has told you you're losing your numbers and you're going to lose your job. Some people have already caved and gotten the vaccine. Others who had been holding out on turning in their papers eventually turned in their papers. And the big one is the extensions and the accommodations that some people are getting. They're dividing you. You can't win if you stay on defense. So here's a couple of suggestions. First, take control of the timeline. Don't allow yourselves to be divided. Everyone must stand together, making October 15th the governor's deadline. Give everyone an exemption or no one is coming back. Second, something that's not being talked about. If you're losing your numbers, build them back. You can get these people to come back and stand on the line with you. If you're really good, you might be able to convince some of the people that they don't want your workload, and maybe they'll come and stand with you. Otherwise, it's going to be on them. But those who don't support the mandate but do support the vaccine should be standing with you. Win these people over. You need to go out and talk with your coworkers and get these people to stand the line with you. It's too important. Those who got the jab out of fear, don't give up on these people. These people feel violated, victimized, and they're mad. Win them back. Let them know they're not alone. Ask your coworkers to start emailing their employer and then emailing the governor. The email should make it clear that they are standing with you, and if you get fired, they're not coming back to work either. This is critical if you want to stop this from happening. Everyone has to stand their ground, and you've got to go and win more people over to stand with you. Everyone should agree that the governor should not be mandating this. Even if you support the vaccine mandate, it should be done by our legislators. That is something every single person should be able to agree with, no matter what their political views. You are not alone. Build your numbers. Never give up. If enough people stand the line, no one has to get fired. Thank you.
I was also asked to remind people again about the signature banner that we have. We've already filled one side. We're signing on the back side now. But if you're over there, take a look at some of what people have written and find out just how much this is impacting them. These are real people. You are real people. These are your families. These are our coworkers. These are everyone in the state. And not one of us is going to be unaffected by this. He's run for state senator. He's run for Congress. Yep. and he is just an outstanding human being. It is my pleasure to have him here. Mr. Martin McClendon.
Isn't this awesome? Come on! If you missed it, I did the invocation early on. You should come back and listen to that later on. So, good afternoon. Besides that, I also have a radio show, 2 of them across the state. One of them called In My Opinion with me on it across the ACN network. I also have a second one with my co-host, Doug Baster, called Doug and Marty versus the World. I say that only because we talk about the issues and we saw this coming for years now. I will say this also, that my wife is a state employee and she's facing getting termination. She's been a nurse for 31 years. I work for a company over 100 employees. We're all in this boat together, and it's wrong. But I want to start off, first of all, as we started with the prayer, because I'm also a former pastor, is Thomas Jefferson reminded us where our rights come from. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Once again, it's because our rights come from God, not from government. Amen? One of our founding forefathers, Benjamin Rush, put it this way: the only foundation for a republic is to be laid in religion. Without this, there can be no virtue, and without virtue, there can be no liberty. In the object of life of all Republican governments, we must have our faith. Now, the rise of the leftists, socialists, and communists are out to destroy everything we hold dear, right? This is a spiritual battle being played out in the political, cultural, and economic battlefields. Take, for example, tyrannical Jay Inslee and Joe Biden, right? In our state, first of all, he said, we're going to shut down the state, we're going to pick and choose who can stay open, who cannot. My supporters can stay open. If you're in construction and you support me or work for government, you can stay open, but you private citizens, you can't. Or if you're a restaurant, we're going to pick and choose which can stay open and what the rules are. We've seen everywhere across this nation hypocrites, right? The first thing that Inslee did, though, was specifically shut down our churches, our houses of worship, because he's afraid of us. I will say this, Proverbs 11:1 says, a false balance and a dishonest business practice are extremely offensive to the Lord, but an accurate scale is his delight. So when we use unequal balance, when we use unequal rules for them and us, right, and rules for us but not for them, God does not like that. Okay, we're here. And now we have the vaccine mandates. We're being threatened, bribed, and coerced, and threatened to lose our job, while using a different set of scales for the elites. We are being separated between vaccinated and unvaccinated. Tyrannical governments around the world, and even here in America, are denying service to those that do not want to comply with loss of their freedom. We are constantly bombarded with messages of fear, with no consideration for natural immunity. Remember, my wife fought COVID and beat it. She's got a greater immunity than if she got the vaccine, right? I will tell you this, my wife, at 31 years, a nurse, when she was in the hospital, she said over 50% of those in there with her had been vaccinated. And still sick, and more sick than she was. The point is, guys, we're being lied to. You have the right to choose whether or not you get the vaccine. You have the right to choose what goes into your body. You have the right to decline and say no. They do not have the right to take away your choice or your job. So what do? As Jim Walsh said earlier, and the whole sign says as well, first we say in one loud, clear, and unified voice, no, you move. Then, as God says in Jeremiah 22:3 says, this is what the Lord says, do what is just and right. Rescue from the hand of the oppressor the one who has been robbed. We're being oppressed and we're being robbed of our jobs and our livelihoods. It's time to take this nation back. Amen? It's time to take our freedom and liberty back. Amen? It is time to restore our God-given rights by restoring this republic. Amen? It is time to throw these anti-Christian, anti-family evildoers out of office. Amen. I'm calling all of those that claim to be Christian or people of faith to be bold and to be courageous, to step up and support our neighbors, our law enforcement, our healthcare workers, and stand in solidarity to say no, to push back and to hold those who use uneven scales and who have attempted to divide us and harm us accountable. Did you know, this is for those that are Christians and people of faith, that about 70% of U.S. citizens around this nation say they're a Christian or believe in God? And yet, according to polling, about half of them actually are registered to vote. And of those, in any given election, about half of them actually cast a ballot. This needs to change. There's a tent back there called Church Outreach Washington. Please check it out. You'll find out more about our biblical roots in our country and why we need to get the church back engaged in civil government. I'm calling all of you here today to be strong and courageous, because when we are, other men and women's backs are stiffened as well. It is time for the silent majority to be silent no more. Remember in Bug's Life, the kids' movie, the grasshopper said, if the ants ever figure out that there are more of them than they are of us, our way of life is over? Well, I'll tell you what, there's more of us than there are of them. One more scripture for you, but that's just who I am. Esther 4:14 says, for if you remain silent at this time, liberation and rescue will arise from another place. And you and your father's house will perish, that you did not help when you had the chance. And who knows whether you have attained royalty for such a time as this, and for this very purpose. Now is the time, folks. Folks, now is the time to push back. Now is the time to fight. Yeah, Esther 4:14, by the way. Thank you. Many men and women have shed their blood to maintain, protect, and pass on liberty, freedom, and blessing of this great nation. It is our turn to pay the price, to defend our Constitution, and to leave the blessings of liberty for the generations to come. Amen? For if we do not fight now, there will be nothing left for our kids to fight for and our grandkids. I saw this the other day, just something a little bit of humor. If we are going to fight, which we are going to fight, fight like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain. God bless you and God bless America. Amen.
Okay, next up we have, you probably hear him on the radio from 3 to 6 p.m. I first met him when he was doing his podcast, and then he took over for the wonderful, indomitable Kirby Wilbur. It is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Mr. Ari Hoffman.
Hey guys! Sorry, I'm a little loud. Those of you who listen to my show know that. How's everybody doing in the back out there? You know, I remember when I used to be sick as a kid, Mom would bring you a bowl of chicken soup, maybe some aspirin, some water, drink your fluids. Now it seems the solution to being sick is communism. I'm very lucky that I had a private school education, so I only got indoctrinated a little bit. And in that education, they taught us the 30th Amendment, which said, none of this matters if there's a pandemic. In all seriousness, those of you who listen to my show, we had a couple guests on this week. One was a firefighter. Him and his wife lost a child in pregnancy before. And now they have another child with complications who's going to be born, please God, in November. But those are heart complications this child has. She's a nurse, and she's being forced to get the vaccine. she asked for an extension just until after the baby's born. Now, when my wife was pregnant, you couldn't have sushi and cold cuts, so what's all this about? Got another phone call from a woman who has a son who's got a terminal progressive lung condition. Can't get the vaccine. The whole family has the vaccine. And the kid can't get the vaccine because it gives you COVID as part of the process, which affects the lungs and such. So they met with the school, and they talked with them and came up with a plan. The kid's in a wheelchair. And during the meeting, the kid had to wear a mask. And the kid was obviously choking and couldn't make it through the meeting. And they said, okay, we're going to make certain accommodations for you, no problem whatsoever. But then on the first day of school, the kid shows up and they put a mask on him. And then when the parents objected to this, and this is a family, they don't just let anybody in the house because you have to protect the people with pre-existing conditions. Look at my boy Ron DeSantis in Florida, right? They take the steps they need to take in order to protect their family. So then, when the kid wouldn't wear a mask the next day, they segregated the kid in his own classroom. And then, when the parents got mad about that, they said, well, you know what, you can do the schoolwork from home, but we don't offer online options anymore. Who's looking out for them? I know you are. And I'll tell you, there's people like me who got the vaccine who say, you shouldn't have to if you don't want to. Now, mind you, I got it, I took it. I got my wife's grandmother, she's 96, thank God. Got to protect her. Got to make sure she's safe. But if you don't want to do it, that is your decision, because we live in America. I look out over the crowd, and those of you who are doing this, don't take this personally. I see some upside down American flags. And I'm kind of wondering why, given the fact that if you are here, you haven't surrendered. Because I look at the thousands of people that are here, I had to park a mile away. I'm not joking, I had to park a mile away. So now the question is, what do you do when you leave here today? What's the next step? Election's not for a little while. What's the next step that you're going to take? Are you going to melt the phone lines of Governor Jay Inslee's office? Are you going to melt the phone lines of your legislature and say, call a special session and fix this? I called Governor Jay Inslee's office the other day. I think I got an intern, and I said, you know, I'd really like to speak to the governor. And they said, well, what would you like to talk to him about? And I said, well, I've got this rash right over here, and I'd like his opinion on it. And they said, I'm sorry, he can't help you, he's not a doctor. I know there's a lot of nurses, doctors, firefighters, police officers here. I'm sure everybody banging on those pots for you guys really makes a difference right now, huh? They're the very people telling you to get the jab. They're the very people who say, you know what, you could work last year ridiculous hours, you could work ridiculous hours this year, and hospitals are getting overwhelmed, et cetera, but yeah, we're going to fire you. That's the people we're talking about. Whatever happened to my body, my choice? I seem to remember hearing a lot of stuff about that. I heard a lot about that. So what are you going to do when you leave here today? And it starts with education. Because if you talk to anybody who can do any math, 99.8% survivability rate does not mean all this happens. math they seem to have forgotten in the medical field is that when you have 70 to 75% of people get a virus or get a vaccine for a virus, you're at herd immunity. Anybody here check the numbers of the vaccination rate here in Washington State? Yeah, they're really high, and they're past that. And if you factor in the amount of people who had this, which is roughly 30% of the population, we are way past herd immunity. So what are we doing? Teach your kids to do math because they're not being taught that in school. They're being taught critical race theory instead. We missed an opportunity when the schools were shut down. We should have said, you want to keep the schools shut down? Go ahead. We're taking all your funding and we're opening more charter schools and using it for scholarships. That's a missed opportunity on the Republican side of the aisle. I call them out equally. So the question is, what are you going to do when you leave here today? Those of you who had the vaccine who are here today and you're sticking up for your friends, thank you for being here. Because the last question I have for everybody, and this is more for the people who aren't here today, if they can mandate this, what are they going to mandate next? God bless all of you. God bless America.
And welcoming up to the stage now are a group of educators from the Spokane area. They are facing termination because of this mandate. So if you are in the education field and you want to come up and stand right behind here while she's speaking, you're welcome to do so and show your support. So we have Miss Natalie Paulson. Did I say that right? Natalie Paulson.
I see educators coming. All right. I was asked, how are educators impacted? Well, we educational staff showed up for kids and families for 19 months. I didn't ask for the schools to be closed. I don't know any teachers that did. We packed food, we delivered food, we gave out gas cards, we made yard visits where I did homework on a lawn or fixed a computer. I was on a phone till the wee hours of the night, couldn't even put my daughter to bed because I needed to help families. Absolutely. And I gladly did it because that is what my job was to take care of my students. Yes. We were flexible to make learning happen to the best of our ability. Again, for 19 months. So you asked the impact? Well, just like all of you, stress, anxiety, it was upon us all. How do I now empower my students when my job is at stake? Will I be targeted next? It hinders my ability to be my best when my freedom is not valued. My message today is to encourage and empower you to keep going, keep fighting, keep grabbing one more person to show up. I was raised to love my country. My father served, my grandfathers served, and they served to stand for freedom. I am not giving that up. And thank you for your service to every military person out there. As I became an educator, I reflected, who do I want to be as an educator? And as a parent and an educator, I wanted my students to become productive members of society in the greatest country that has ever been formed. Almost 250 years ago, people stood up against too much governmental control. They united, they stood, and they became one nation under God. Now we stand here, united, and not to justify our liberty. I already have it, but I'm going to defend it. So I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite quotes in this event has been George Washington. Truth will ultimately prevail where there is pain to bring it to light. Our light is shining. Please let it keep going. Shine brighter. Keep pulling people in. There are people in the darkness that need to be brought to the light. Absolutely. And another one of my favorites is Ronald Reagan. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free. So I have to tell you, when I first heard about this, I had a moment of complete, overwhelming emotional breakdown, but just for a moment. And then I went into a little bit of fear, but then I remembered, fear not, because I love Jesus. And then I got pissed. And I said, game on. You have just awoken somebody who will fight for her freedom and bring everybody with me. Amen. And I'm going to leave you with this, because as I went through those moments, there was a song that kept coming and coming and coming. And then I finally decided to listen. See the Victory by Elevation Worship. And I'm just going to read a couple lines. Because the God I serve knows only how to triumphant. My God will never fail. I'm going to see a victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. I know how this story ends. Gonna worship my way through this battle. You take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it to good. You turn it to good.
Thank you, Natalie. And is that another round of applause for all these wonderful educators up here? Brave enough to take a stand. I'm going to welcome to the stage next our future. And when I say that, I'm very serious. Our young are our future. They're the ones who have to take up this struggle when we can't. And they're the ones that we are fighting for. I don't know how many of you remember when you were 13, how much gumption you had, how willing you were to stand up to the authority figures that you've been told all your life to respect. I'm going to bring up a young lady who is doing just that. She's standing up to the tyranny of her school, reneging on their own promises to acknowledge the health condition that she has. So I would like you to welcome to the stage Melanie Gabriel, and she's going to tell you her story.
Hi everybody! Oh my goodness, there are so many of you. This is awesome. So if you haven't heard about the shenanigans at Skyview, I will get to that later, because today I really want to focus on the aspect of the mandates and the shutdowns and how they affect youth like myself. When the shutdowns first started, everything was kind of normal. Everything was, you know, oh yay, quick little break from school. Everyone was really excited about it, to be honest. And then it extended for a whole 2 years. Not excited anymore. So throughout the course of these 2 years, the youth mental health and suicide rate have just been spiraling out of control. Me personally, I have lost multiple friends during the pandemic. My friend London and my friend Olympia both committed. Olympia committed this month, actually, so I come up here to remember her. A friend, Christian, it's his 18th birthday today. Happy birthday to Christian, because we miss him. My friend, Taven, unsuccessfully shot himself in the head. Thank goodness. He's in Arizona now for a brain institution, and he is doing amazing. And there are so many other children who have committed these past 2 years. Me, myself, I've attempted multiple times. And I'm tired of being so depressed and full of anxiety and having PTSD flares and just totally unhealthy and unwilling to want to go on. So then I started speaking up about mental health and opening schools way back when this first started. And I got really vocal, and I started to get out there, meet new people like all you wonderful people out here. My mental health has gotten so much better recently. I haven't attempted with it for at least 2 months now. So I come out and I come to these kind of things so I can speak about teen mental health. I can speak about what the shutdowns do to us. I can speak about my friends Olivia and London and Christian and Hayden and Taven and all of these kids who weren't able to speak up, who weren't able to find someone who they trusted to speak to, who weren't able to be here today. I speak for them. I stand for them. I am so grateful that I got to come out and talk to all of you beautiful people today. I am so happy to be here and to share my story and to share their story. So I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
So, if you haven't heard, I attend Skyview High School. And I've caused quite the ruckus. Before school even started, my school was giving me a very hard time about me being physically unable to wear a mask. I've got PTSD and anxiety, if you haven't heard already. And they keep me from wearing the mask because whenever I do, I go into these spirals where I end up self-harming or ending up in the hospital. But that's not enough for the school. That's not enough physical evidence to give me a mask exemption. So I went out there and I started protesting all by myself at the beginning, slowly growing more supporters. I've been locked up, locked out, segregated, pushed around, blocked from going to my classes, and blocked from my right to a equitable education. Because of a mandate. Not a law, a mandate. Just clarifying that real quick, because a lot of people don't seem to get that.
No, they don't.
Anyways, currently I'm in what they call the SLEC program, which is a credit recovery class for seniors who are not quite going to graduate. So they need to be in this class so that they can graduate. I'm a freshman, not a senior. I'm not graduating. Actually, I might graduate because this program is so easy that I could be done this year. They have me learning about nouns and adjectives instead of writing multiple page essays and programming robots, which I was gonna do before they started to harass and segregate me. I was gonna build and program robots. I was going to do extensive math and go on these awesome trips and do amazing programs, but not anymore. I get to learn about nouns and adjectives. And to top it all off, they put me in this plexiglass box that I like to call the fish tank.
No.
Yep. I'm not allowed to sit near anyone, and when I do get up from my desk, they don't let me run around without my mask on. No way, I've got to hold it up to my face and push through the physical and emotional damage that it does to me. But they don't care, because if they really cared, they would give me more leniency. They would make it so that I was comfortable when I went to school. They would make it so that I'm not afraid that when I walk down the hallways, I'm going to get beat up and stolen from. Do you know how many kids who have threatened to kill me already? Who have harassed me and assaulted me already? Antifa too. Parents, they're calling Antifa on me. They are calling their Antifa dogs to sick me.
Stay strong, Melanie! They're scared!
So not is it only the kids who are harassing me, but it is parents, full-grown adults who are harassing me and threatening me. So I go to school every day, and I sit in my box, and I learn about nouns and adjectives, and I write a paragraph worth of an essay for each assignment. And I ace these tests, and I fly through each unit. I've got like 1.5 units done in like 2 weeks of school. That is, I'm pretty proud of myself, not gonna lie. Anyways, I drew the line so long ago, and it's hard when they keep stepping over your line, and you draw new ones, and they keep stepping over it. They've pushed me off my edge, off this cliff of what I'm able to tolerate at this point. And I'm done. I will not stand for the segregation and the tyranny anymore. Now, if you didn't know, I come from a Jewish heritage. So being told to carry papers to prove why I don't have to wear a mask in school and being segregated is really offensive. When they know my heritage and they know that I feel uncomfortable doing these things. But they force it anyways, and then when we come to an agreement, they change it behind my back. And I'd honestly, I'd like to thank Ian Mansfield at my school, because he has been amazing. And if you ever talk to him, he's really an amazing man. And he's just made my whole school experience so much better. He's really amazing. So I wanted to come up here to speak for myself, speak for my friends who can't speak for themselves, and to speak for you. Thank you.